I was able to cut out all of this extra wire and hardware much better. I chose the Slimline because I really like the design. It's got the RGB so you can make it any color. It also will do the toggling, so on, off. The momentary where you push it, it's on. The moment you let go, it's off. And then the pulse is kind of like a police, what I would call like a police car, where it's got it basically turns these into strobes. This is the 4-button version, and let me show you a little bit more of how the install went. Our Jeep came with already an LED bar up top there, amber fog lights that are wired in. They then flow under here through this section down there and come up. And there's a couple of lines. So you've got that red winch line, that's the thicker one for the winch. And then you have these other two for the two lights that I just described. The original wiring was all kind of bunched up in here. That was then connected to the battery directly. Because there are two lights, the two control wires for the button went along the top there and then down here into the firewall there. You can see now that's the new one for the Auxbeam, which goes through there. So now that I will only need, even if I add 2 additional accessories, I'll only need the Auxbeam, that single line. That never changes. I never have to go back there again. I would just add it to this box right here. And this is the brains of the system. The Auxbeam, it's really well made. I mean, even the box is metal. These are metal, very nice. And I saw 2 types of installations. One, which I chose, which is on top of the current fuse box right there. That's one solution. The other was the brackets on this side. Now, I couldn't see an easy way. There was a guy I saw online that actually cut into this plastic thing. He cut into it like over so he could access that bolt right there. And then this kind of went like that. And then he used like double stick tape or something on the other one. Or I think just to hold it temporarily. And then he did a self-tapping screw holding it that way. You can definitely do that. The thing that I will tell you, and the reason why I did what I did was because the lines that came with it, now I could go on Amazon and buy more extra long lines. The lines that this came with, although it's a very nice unit, it doesn't come with really long lines. So I had just enough wire. This was exactly the best location. If you mount it over there, and it even shows you in the manual, like they've mounted it over there, you really don't have a way to get it over there because you would need an extra long line. Now this is a very thick, I think that's a 2-gauge wire, but you would need to at least have a thicker gauge wire going all the way over there. And then I could have done it, same thing. And then instead of the lines for the light bar stuff coming this way, I would instead pop it up this way from behind here and run it here. So you could do that. You're kind of enveloping your engine with electrical, and I just was like, also they showed a mount here. Now this I have no idea how they did, because there's nothing, there are no, the only bolt that I see that would make that possible is that one right there. That's the only bolt. But then it's resting on these electrical things. And when you're off-roading, I just didn't want, like at some point that could damage, I think, something. So that's probably your best bet is right around here. Yeah, something like that. Like if I just, it's wedged in there. That's probably your best bet, and mounting it like that. But again, I just didn't want to go through all that. I had exactly the perfect situation here. So let's go back and detail that. Now the downside to this install, I'm gonna show you right now. I would need a screwdriver. If I have a fuse that's ever blown, you can see I had to screw into the top. So that's maybe one thing if you don't wanna do that. I did screw into the fuse box piece there. Then to open it, I can unclick that, and I'm gonna unclick this one over here, okay? And then you can see it pivot. So I can pivot like that, but that's as far as I'm going to be able to go. So realistically, I cannot easily change anything unless I remove this box. I can't even like pull it off because of the angle of this thing. I can't, because this original Jeep fuse box cover is designed that you should be able to move it up and then you can actually like pop it straight off. But at this angle, it cannot do that. So that is a downside. But if you think about it, I was like, well, fuses don't blow that often. And you still can kind of see a little bit of what's going on. But if I really needed to test something out, I would have to unscrew this box there, kind of unplug some things and kind of move it over, which I can do. It's just 2 screws, but that is something to keep in mind when you mount it in this section. That part gets a little tricky. And there's the fuse jumper wire, and you can see right there in the center, I did have to use a drill, and I kind of laid the drill down and kind of was grooving into that plastic part that goes across there. So that way when I shut it, that it shuts nicely. But that's really it. I mean, at least all the electricals like kind of all in this one section. I'm kind of okay with that. This to me works. I was also thinking eventually I could probably have a different system instead of a screw going down into here. There's probably something where I could have a bolt come up, another nut, excuse me, to screw down into it to kind of keep it like a post. And then I could have another screw kind of go down onto that. So then I can easily or more easily remove it. So there's a way I can mess around with that. But again, I don't see that happening a whole ton. So this is good enough for now. Sometimes you just gotta let it go and that's it. So now everything is nicely tight. Electrical section's over there. Nothing crazy over there. I don't have lines and stuff going across the top. It's a very clean installation. The product works really well. Here's a video of the stickers you get. And again, minus the light bar, you actually get multiple ones. You get cubes. They give you a nice array and they're very high quality. They're a very thick, like plastified, plastic type material. In fact, a little bit, some of them maybe feel almost 3D, but they aren't. But yeah, you can see all the different options. So I had, again, 1 light bar. I took 1 amber. There was just a single amber one. And then that was a blackout sticker. Again, they give you quite a bit of those. You've got arrows, horn, camera, like there's many things that you can do here. One thing I was considering is attaching the winch, but again, what I understood is the winch draws too much power. So look that up. I don't know if anybody else has done anything like that. And of course they give you this like huge Auxbeam. Don't know if my wife wants that on her car, but I like it. Yeah, there's that. I'm still working on which radio I'm selecting, so stay tuned for more on that. Right now, that's me testing out another Android. That's a 7-inch. It works, but it's still, I don't know if it's quite what I'm looking for. So here's where I decided to put the switch for the Auxbeam. And then this is the mounting system that it came with internally. What I did is these little holes work actually quite nice where I don't have to drill anything in. I tried the double stick tape, it just wasn't really that sturdy. So I ended up fitting these little screws and I had wing nuts on the back part of it. You could use any kind of bolt with a nut on there, but the wing nut works out really nice because you could easily grab it. So this was not difficult to install and I didn't have to drill anything. So very nice implementation. You can see I have it offset here because the holes aren't perfectly lined up, if you're wondering. Now I have it wired up for accessory, so it will not turn on unless I put it in accessory mode, which you're gonna see here in a second. Okay, there. I just clicked it once in accessory mode. Now you can see it lit up. This is really cool. So these I just kind of put it comes with some blackout buttons. So if you're not sure what you're going to wire them up with, which I'm not, I went ahead and turned those off. And then here you have the light bar and there you have the amber. It's pretty cool actually. It's got like an amber thing. And then when you want them on, you click to turn it on, click to turn it on. And then this is like a memory button. If you click it once, they both go off. Click it again, they both come on. These also change colors. There's a bunch of videos you can see, get into them, and they'll give you a lot of explanations. You can also program these with those 3 different types through this button here. So again, I'm not going to get into that now, but this is more of like how I did my install. As far as an install tip too, one thing you should do is go ahead and take everything out and kind of like lay it out. I put the box, kind of put it there, just rest on top. I set the wires out. I kind of connected things up to a degree. It helps to kind of lay it out ahead of time. Also, before you do all that, make sure you disconnect the negative from the battery. And I put it in a plastic bag and kind of tucked it away just so nothing would hit it. But that made a big difference. It allowed me to kind of try a couple scenarios, how I wanted to run the line. So I definitely recommend kind of doing some mock-up. Don't just follow the instructions straight down. Kind of like make sure everything lays out the way you think it should, and it'll go so much smoother. Your configuration, depending on how you choose to do it, you may have to buy some additional line that runs longer, but just keep that in mind. It will come with everything you need, at least on the JK, as long as you kind of do that same mount. But if you're not comfortable with that type of install on top of the other fuse box, I get it. Then you want it over here, but then you're going to need to buy yourself at least a 6 to 8 foot cable that will then get the line all the way over to the control box is what you're going to need. That's all I got for this video. Hope that helps you if you're kind of looking to wire something like that up. I'll have a video coming up soon talking about the Jeep things that we've added on. I'd say maybe like the top 10 things, and kind of show you. One of them is this grill, which I think is actually really cool. This thing is so easy to install too. So stay tuned for that. Thanks again. Have yourself a great week. We'll see y'all later. Bye.